We are live. Welcome to UNKNOT, y'all. It took a lot to get us here for tonight, but we are here, and I have not been live for, gosh, it's been a bit. But I am here now. Andy is with me. We're going to have a conversation tonight, and we have some things that we may end up touching on. We'll see how this goes. I'm actually going to, I was telling Andy, because he and I collaborated on some stuff ahead of the show, but I'm feeling the energy the way it's kind of moving right now, and it's not a real steady, easy energy. Um, and I'm sure you guys are probably feeling it too. Hey, Cardamancy on YouTube, how are you? So let me just tell you guys, like here's the reality. We're living in a moment where everyone has access to a ton of information. All of us do. But we're all feeling a little anxious, especially in the last couple of weeks, more confused, and some more paralyzed than ever. So, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about why that is, what the news cycle is actually doing to you, your brain, your nervous system, and why your brain keeps telling you that knowing more is going to fix it when it absolutely will not fix it. But before we jump in, hi, Andy. How are you? Let's bring you up.
Yeah, I know the feeling exactly. You and I have compared some quick notes on it, and since I am a part of the media, um, I've never considered myself mainstream just because of the way I think, but I guess I would be considered mainstream media. We can toss some thoughts around,
Well,
and
you
a
work for a mainstream media station, but you're not really part of the news or the talk anymore.
no, I do the morning news now. I stay in my little sandbox. I don't do political talk. I moved away from that because that's just not something that I enjoy doing. And honestly, I never really enjoyed it when I was doing it and doing it well. So I moved away from it just because I don't think my personality fits that stuff.
Well,
And I
I was
wasn't happy.
making a lot of content last year and even into this year, up until the changing of the guard on TikTok. I was making a lot of content about the things that were going on, what's going on underneath, because I'm great at pattern recognition and I'm a deep diver. And I literally have not felt like doing any content surrounding that part of it, for a number of reasons. And I think we talked about this in our Charm Life and Hidden Wisdom groups last week, and you and I think touched on it as well. There's so much being put out into the narrative that it's like I don't want to add to the noise. A, B, while I'm really good at that stuff and always ahead of the curve, it seems, because of my
Always,
clairvoyance.
yes.
I'm typically right.
The fact that you are a deep diver and you can spot patterns, that's like a double whammy. And for you, I know it's a blessing and a curse because you're able to be a little ahead of us and give us a heads up. But at the same time, you also probably don't tell us everything that you already have spotted pattern wise.
No,
So,
I don't say
yeah,
everything. And intuitively, the things I get intuitively, I do not share a lot of that information publicly. Even in my groups, there's certain things that I'm going to keep to myself. And then sometimes when I do actually share it, it's funny. It's like a war within myself of, do I share it? Don't I share it? Do I want to share it? Should I share it? There's always a million questions that I go through.
yeah.
Is there a benefit here? So, like, for those of you who watch me, whether it's my live streams here or any kind of content, you got to know there's so much that goes on before I hit publish or before I hit go live. And a lot of it is that same internal turmoil. Many of you feel the pull between rational thinking and intuition, right?
There is a constant internal struggle that goes on with me just because I am relatively good at what I do. And if I wanted to mix it up with the other side, I could do it. But I've made the conscious choice that I'd rather use what skills I have to hopefully make this a better place to live. And most of the conversations that go on in the media that I populate aren't very productive. They're just a
Well, and
bunch of
that's
folks.
the thing with social media right now too, right? Like there's a lot of, and I'm so grateful, independent journalists, deep dive researchers that have the time and the skills to really go there. Um, if get a message from spirit and they're like, definitely you're gonna reveal what's going on. I mean, the post I made about Iran and the antimony deal last year, people are finally finding that video this month. And it's like, oh my God, I made that video, those two videos last year. And it's taken that long for that content to get, and someone asked me, will you make more content on this? And I'm like, no, no, that was a heads up to people a year ago.
It
Like
was a
once
yeah.
I do something like that, unfortunately, I don't have a desire to do it again. That was something spirit showed me before it hit the news, before anyone knew, before we went into this massive conflict. So when I deliver stuff like that, I figure who needs to see it's going to see it, and if it circulates later, great. But I'm not spending time and energy and effort. One of the things I said to Andy, and my groups, if you guys have been paying attention, I am really clear on where I'm heading right now as I rebuild my life and my business post cancer. And I'm getting busy. My schedule, everybody knows now that I'm getting back to work. My schedule's opened up more, and I already have in some arenas of the services I offer a waiting list forming, right? Like with the health stuff, I have a waiting list forming because I can't keep up. There's one of me. So I have to be really consciously aware of what I'm doing, where I'm spending my energy, and what I'm here to do. And I have sort of an overall overarching mission, I think, of what I'm supposed to be doing during this time. And yet, from a, like, I guess, a marketing standpoint, people would say, oh, I serve three different audiences. No, actually, it's all one audience, but everybody's used to specializing, niching, all this crap. I know too much. It has me frozen. All right. Well, let's see if we can get you unfrozen tonight, and whoever else is watching. We've got a few people watching on TikTok. Whoever else is on the YouTube and the Facebook, please say hello. And if you are on TikTok and you want us to actually see your comments and engage with you, jump on over to the YouTube because it seems like we get the comments easily over there. Same with on Facebook.
And I think Cartomancy brings up a good point, and you've touched on it a couple of different times, and it's a recurring issue. And one of the things that I've learned over the 3 years that you've been able to work with me is to create some boundaries for myself, or as you like to say, I have created space for myself that I previously did not have. So now it gives me, I shouldn't call it a luxury, but it sort of is, because I've discovered how to do it. It gives me the space to move away from all the noise that we're all barraged by, so that I can, make some time for myself and not be frozen.
Well, the frozen thing, that's a nervous system issue, first of all. I am grateful that I am not there. I'm not going to say that my nervous system is completely healed. My physical body is. I'm not. I mean, coming out of chemo and radiation, your body goes into survival mode like you would not believe. And I'm still fighting cortisol levels. How do I know? Because I'm still waking up every night at 3 a.m. and I have to go to the bathroom. I'm waking up and I'm not hungry until noon. Those are cortisol issues. Um, and I am taking supplements that are, it's trying to get my body back in order, but I'm not frozen. 6 months ago, I was still, I would say, overwhelmed and frozen because my brain wasn't there yet. My nervous system wasn't calm enough yet. Where now I think I'm doing better, um, and I'm moving full force now. Like I'm getting so much done. If you guys are not following my blog or on my email list, or even Substack, that's where you're going to find a lot of what I'm actually putting out right now on a daily basis. I like writing. I really like writing. It's easy for me. I spend a lot of time writing. So instead of forcing myself right now, and the way the energy is set right now on the planet, it's very challenging. And we can go over that in a little bit, but I'm honoring where I can show up that's comfortable for me and not completely tapping me out.
Yeah.
And I think that's something important for everybody to think about is how can I show up where it's not going to drain me? How can I show up in work, in my relationships? Like, how can I do it in a different way? Because the time we are in right now is requiring us to show up in a very different way. ER 4 times, hospital 3 times, hospital for a full month. That's my girl. I know you've been through it. You've been through it. I am so sorry you're having to go through this. I hope to God the energy. I can't wait to get to April 1st. I know it's going to be an incredibly heightened month of energy, but the changes that are available on the positive side as well as the challenging energy, it's challenging, I think, the correct things in the month of April. So it is going to create some challenges. But I think what's available to us in April is, if we use it properly. I'm gonna couch it with that. If we use it properly, is going to bear some incredible shifts and changes. And for people like you, Cardamancy, you've been through the health stuff. Um, I think that shift and the supporting planets will probably help you, without knowing what your chart and all of that stuff. Anywho, so Andy, you want to get into it?
Yeah, and I was just gonna sort of dovetail into what you mentioned about journaling. I'm an audio person, so I always used to think talking it out was the best way for me. But what I've discovered with your help is talking it out just sort of keeps it banging around in my head. But when I get it down on paper and journal it and get it out of my head onto the paper, it's a much better exercise and I get rid of it that way. So for people that think, okay, let's just talk it out and we'll be okay, I highly recommend journaling and writing stuff down so that you can
Because you're
actually,
processing it. You're actually,
yeah,
so the difference between just thinking about something and processing something, for those of you who are like, oh, I hate writing. Look, when you actually write, and I don't mean type on a computer, I mean use your finger and use your pen and get a notebook from Walmart that costs you 50 cents, a dollar, like write it down. You are processing on a few different levels. You're processing mentally, analytically, you're processing emotionally, and from the physical standpoint of your body being involved, you actually have a chance to process the energy out and not hold it in the body. That's why I'm a hard ass when I coach people like Andy and the rest of my people. And I'm like, don't cheat on this one. Because you're not hurting me by not writing, you're hurting you.
yeah,
And honestly, like, it ain't my life. Like, I can tell you till the day is long, this is the better way to do it if you really want to get better and if you want to feel better. You're either going to listen or not, but I can tell you guys, it's day and night, the difference between just thinking about something or talking into a phone audio recording or typing and then actually writing. And there's
yeah.
scientific evidence to prove that. And I've been saying this now for 26 years because 30 years ago, Spirit told me, don't be lazy. Right. I'm like, okay, okay.
And and it comes down to, because there are days you're not going to feel like it. It's not about motivation. It's about being disciplined so that you do it, so that
It's mental, emotional, and physical hygiene. And if you can think of it like that, like you are actually taking care of your mind, your emotions, and your body because you're not storing that energy, then maybe you'll do it like you brush your teeth and wash your face and take care of your wrinkles at night. I mean, I don't know. Anywho, let's go in. Let's jump.
Well, I mean, the major question is how much is too much, right? We're sort of talking about that, and my point, mean, people don't believe me when I say this, but I make a point of it all the time when I tell them I'm in the media, and they go, "Oh, you must really love it. You're doing this all the time." I said, "No, when I get home, I don't have the talking head channels on and all that other stuff. I'm a reader. I'm a reader. I like processing the information and reading the information. So." Um, it's a purely personal choice on where you go and how you process the information and what you do with it. And you can get stuck in it.
Well, you had questions tonight, right? Are we going to
Yeah.
jump into that?
Yeah.
Before we
And
do, I'm going to ask you guys a favor. Okay. Um, I literally need your help. So this is my appeal to you. If you are watching me on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube, if you could right now hit that heart button, and on TikTok a couple times, hit it. If you are on any of those platforms, drop a comment, just say hi. 2 letters. That is what I'm asking from you guys, right? I'm showing up here and doing these things for you, and Andy too. Like, that's my ask, because then it signals the algorithm that they should share this out. Now on TikTok, there's definitely some funky going on. Hey, Pat. Thank you, my friend. He even typed like 6 letters. You have no idea how that 6 letters actually helps me. So I'm asking you guys to do it. If you are watching right now, please do it. If you want to take it a step further and say, hey, you have our support. And if you guys want me to continue this UNKNOT show going live, and Andy as well, then I'm going to ask that you share this stream on your feed, wherever you're watching from. Share it, or share it on Facebook. Thank you, Carter Mancy, for typing hi on YouTube. I appreciate it. Share it on your feed. Share it on Facebook. Share it on TikTok. Share it wherever. Share it. Share it out to a friend. But share it. Sharing is caring. The more we can get this back, get the numbers back up on the platforms, the easier it's going to be for me to want to show up when our numbers have been capped, and they absolutely have been. I'm not saying any names of which platforms, but it makes it really hard for me to want to continue to do all of this, because it isn't free. I have to pay the streaming software, and that costs money every flipping month. And the time that it takes to do this, it's a huge commitment. Trust me, I'd rather be watching pursuing In the Pursuit of Jade right now, my Chinese drama, because there's a new episode that dropped. But instead, I'm here with you guys when everything in me just said, cancel the show, just stay in bed. You're tired. You've had a long week all the way up to today, and it's Wednesday, and I feel like I've lived a month in this 3 days. So yeah,
yeah,
you both will always have my
energy.
support. I've pulled you up on my big screen. I love it on the
Oh, okay.
TV.
Love that. I apologize because I tell this to Bernadette all the time. I'm a radio guy. I don't like the way I look, so I'd prefer not to have to stare at myself. But thank you for the compliment. Always appreciate it. You know what? Let's dive in. And
Okay.
you're a great pattern. Uh, you're always pattern aware and a great deep diver. So when it comes to the news and the mainstream media, what do you think they're actually doing beyond just reporting? What's your perspective? I know
That's a good question.
you're filtering things a lot more than you used to.
That's a good question. And I appreciate that. Like, that we actually talk about all of that and what's going on. And I want you guys to understand, media is not in the information business. Social media, mainstream media, not in the information business. It's in the attention business. And guess what holds more than just normal attention? Fear. Fear holds our attention longer than anything else. So the narrative that all media tends to curate and promote is there to keep you in a state of low grade threat. And not because of conspiracy, but threat and fear sells. That's reality. So when you consume it continuously, your subconscious or unconscious learns that the world is dangerous and unpredictable and requires constant monitoring. So you go back for more, right? And it's not news, it's conditioning. And the people that are most susceptible, I think, aren't the uninformed. It's often the most analytical, the most conscientious, the ones who feel responsible, like for being on top of it and understanding what's happening. Their need to know literally gets weaponized.
Yeah, how much of that is, and I know it's one of those cliches or phrases that people like to use, FOMO, the fear of missing out, that you don't want to be the one that does, or you want to be the one that has the latest piece of information so that you can impress your
It's
friends.
still conditioning. I mean, literally, look at the landmark SCOTUS decision today. Look at it. The whole YouTube um, meta thing, and I'm not going to get too far into that. But if you look at that decision of getting sued and having to pay for purposely creating an algorithm that addicts the viewer, speaks volumes. Now, we've known that that's what they do. We know that. It was outed, you know, 5, 10 years ago. No one's ever sued for it and won until now. So somebody scan the QR code. Somebody wants to come up and talk.
Cool. It's, the speed at which that they accomplish that, I'm amazed by, because the analogy that I sort of link to it is the years it took for big tobacco to get sued when it came to addicting smokers, and how they claimed for years that smoking was not addictive and they weren't doing anything to addict smokers until it was finally proven. But that court case took years, comparatively
Oh,
speaking, to
funny,
where we
because you
are.
don't see the alcohol and freaking industry involved in that one now, do you?
Yeah. So
But
the speed at which this one got accomplished was pretty amazing to me.
yeah. Well, this is it's going to be interesting how this whole thing plays out with all of those platforms. But that literally, that's why everybody keeps going back to social media, even if we hate it. And honestly, I am not liking it right now. I am not liking the shift. Hey, Miss Ashley. Um, I'm not liking the way that it feels. I don't like what's showing up on my feed. It's not. It's not even because of the information that's coming out, because I know that the things that are happening in the world right now are really not bright and shiny and wonderful and blah blah blah. It's not that. It's the repetitiveness of those messages.
Yeah. So the push me pull you that goes on in my mind, or in someone's mind, about, am I going there to feel better? Am I going there to feel worse? Or does it really matter why I'm going there in order to get my, dopamine fix?
So, hey Sky, what's up? You're going there because your brain is stuck in survival mode at some level, right? And it's mistaking information gathering for safety building. That's the first thing I'll say about that. Um, and literally we start to think, well, if I just know this one thing fully or understand this one thing fully or whatever, I'll feel more prepared and I will feel in control. That thing of control, and let me say this, I wasn't going to go on a tangent, but here I go. That need to feel like we're in control has come up in almost every single coaching session I have done in the last 3 weeks with people that are high level, smart, very successful people as well.
I mean, I would think foundationally, we all want to be in control, right? And without getting into the politics of it, if you look at some of the news coverage,
But do you know
some
why
people,
we want to be in control?
um, for me, to be, well, I was going to say to be in control gives me a sense of, I'm looking for the right word to use. Not calm. For me, control, it
That
does
same
bring,
ego.
yeah.
It's an ego program, yes. But look, it boils down to this, and I'm going to make it as simple as I possibly can. All right. Because it is a program as well. The need to be in control comes from a survival sort of program. We all want, one of our core needs is to feel secure, safe, stable, however you want to put it. And we've been taught throughout our entire lives that if we're in control and we don't give our power to someone else or the control to someone else, then somehow we have more control. It's not true. What's really happening is you have a huge fear of the unfamiliar and uncertain. That's what it is. And you think that the more you know, the more you're on top of it, the more you're self reliant, the more you can control things. What you fail to see, and I'm not saying you to anyone in particular, I'm telling you, if you have this in you, the part that you fail to see is what you're really uncomfortable with and in resistance to is accepting that things change and that things don't need to be predictable and certain and the same without ever changing for you to feel safe. You can be safe even in that place of flexibility.
And I can personally attest to the fact that the idea of accepting what is was tough for me, as opposed to overthinking and trying to control everything.
Sky saying fear of losing control. Right, but losing control of what? See, the whole thing, you have to go layer beyond layer. I was just telling, I was in my recertification for high performance last week. Um, and then I was in this other, I did a talk inside this other group that I'm involved in. They were asking me a ton of questions. And I was explaining to them, like, I always go 7 layers down. Like the easy one, oh, fear of losing control. Okay, but why are you afraid of losing control? And afraid of losing control of what exactly? These are the things you need to figure out for yourself. You can shortcut it. You can come have a session with me, or come, into one of my programs and we'll go through it. But the
And I,
reality is, it's never what you think it is.
right. I mean, the question that popped in my mind is, as you were throwing those questions out, is in control of what? What am I really in control of outside of myself?
Did you guys see the meteors falling? Like, I texted Andy the other night and I'm like, and now the sky is falling. I'm like, there's nothing truly, if you think about it, we think we're in control. That is such a lie. There's so many things that we're not in. You cannot control whether it storms or it's sunny tomorrow. You can't. You don't get to control everything. Can you be prepared? Yes. But if your stability and your peace and your sense of self disappears the minute something unexpected shows up, now we have a problem. We've got to become more flexible and we've got to become sort of, what's the word? More accepting. I'll just make it
Yeah.
easy. I want to keep it as simple as possible. I don't want to go in over your guys' heads at all.
So if obviously we can't control everything and we shouldn't, so the simple question is, what should I focus on that is within my control?
Hold on. I'll answer that in a sec. Hold on to that question. Cardamant's saying, I'm great with disasters. Can't get a grip on this one. Um, isn't that interesting? So maybe the message is, and I would love to hear your answer for this, but you're not required to share on a public platform. Um, why do you feel like you need to get a grip on it? What if you just accept that it is what it is? And I share that from a place of going through being delivered the news, hey, you have stage 4 cancer, we're hospitalizing you now. wait, what? My whole life just went, shit, what is happening? And honestly, in all honesty, that was probably the most out of control I have ever felt, because chemo does things to you you have no way of predicting, and they have no way of predicting. They say because there's thousands of different types of chemo, everybody who goes through chemo is going to respond differently, and it's based on, and you're in pretty good shape, but you never, blah blah blah, they tell you all these things. We don't know. There's no certainty or control there. You can't control whether or not you show up and get the treatment or not, right? Because I'm the one everyone goes to. Here's the thing about that. So am I, Cartomancy, and you know that. I mean, everybody depends on me. Whether it's my family, my audience, my friends, my client, everybody's always dependent on the go-to. And when the rock goes down, everybody freaks out. Like, wait a minute, what? You're the foundation. Everyone lost it, you know? And what I had to accept and shift into during that time was, even though they all come to me and rely on me for being the solid ground upon which they stand on, I'm in a position right now where I have to trust the process. And they're going to have to trust it too, and offer this space of allowing people to step up for me, that I've been serving and servicing in my life and in my business. And it also allowed for them to see the strength that they literally had, but were shortcutting because it was easier just to have me do it, have me think about it, have me give them answers. So sometimes it is that place of rebalancing where we're like, I am the one that everyone goes to, but for a minute, I'm on a timeout. I'm out of pocket. And I had to do that for close to 18, 19 months. Just done.
A great, or maybe another example, an external example of that might be, what recently happened in the islands with the Kona low that blew through the islands, not one system, but two systems, where you virtually have no control over what Mother Nature is doing. All you can do is respond. And what I saw with the people that I kept in contact with, because I grew up in the islands, is they did whatever they could. They rescued people from their homes. They got on surfboards or their canoes and they paddled and they got them onto that and they got them to safety. You figure out in those circumstances how to respond to what's around you. You have no control, so you decide what you can do based upon what's happening.
But when you've got your own stuff going, and truly, this is my point to all of you, so please listen. Like, really, really listen to the message that I'm wanting you to feel at the deepest levels. Sometimes our need to be the one that everyone comes to as well is misplaced. And we've just gotten so used to filling that role, we ignore everything our lives and bodies are saying that says you first, you right now, and you alone. That one took me a lot. And to this day, I have to remind myself of that. I have to take care of me, and I have to ask, am I doing this because of conditioning and because everybody is used to me being in that role? Or am I doing this because that is what is being called for right now? So ask yourself that. And even if it is being called for, here's the deal. Do I want to? Do I want to fill that role?
If you're being honest with yourself,
Very much
that's
misplaced.
an
Yeah.
ongoing conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
So, yeah. But honestly, you guys, like right now, we have to look at like what are the beliefs that we have that say that we have to be in control? What are the beliefs that we have that say that that control equals safety? right? Because that's going to take it to another level. Where do I believe that my pretending to be in control of these things equals safety and security? And then, next question, if it were me, if I was coaching y'all through this, I would say, is it true that it actually does give you unshakable safety and security, or is that just your belief? Is that just another belief?
Right. Is that just a mechanism? Because the information or whatever it is that you're using to feel safe could be wrong. So when that happens,
Right. But you guys
where does
have to
that
answer that for yourselves. You need to ask, like, part of what I want to present to you is give you the questions to answer, right? To start digging a little deeper into, where am I getting stuck right now? Because we're all being asked to shift. And those shifts and requirements to shift are only going to increase throughout the rest of this year and into 2027. I can tell you that without batting an eye. It's
Yeah.
going to be a requirement, and it already is. We all need to change, like it or not. And if y'all don't believe me, just look at the weather patterns and what's going on in the world right now. Mother Nature herself is saying, you all need to change.
Two of the most important questions, and they're very simple questions, but they're always tough to answer when you pose them to us, whether we're in Hidden Wisdom or Charmed Life, when we're describing the circumstance we're in, are simply how and why. Why do you think you feel that way? Or how?
No, I'm not the one that does the why questions. You guys get lost on that. You mess
Right.
that one up, because literally you guys ask why, and I always tell you, don't ask why. That's the dumbest thing that you could ask yourself, because
That's
that
true.
will keep you in an analytical loop, which is what we were going to talk about next anyways.
Right. But you're right. That's invariably the very first place we begin because we're used to it.
That's literally, you guys, like, I've been doing this for 26 years, and I'm telling you, asking why is it happening, why hasn't happened, why me, that will do nothing but keep you in a mind loop and anxiety. That is what that will do. That question why. Mm-mm. Know your why is one thing, meaning know the intention and purpose behind which you are doing something. That's the only time when asking a why question in my book of self discovery is worthwhile. Any other why is nonsense. It's going
Under,
to keep you
under,
stuck.
understanding the why for me was a big hurdle to get over. So you're right. But breaking that pattern is probably the biggest hurdle to overcome because
It's yeah, yeah.
it's the fallback position that most of us have. Why does this happen to me? Why me? Why this? Why that?
Why now?
Yeah,
Why
why
can't it
now?
stop? Yeah. Why and when questions are useless. Why when? When
When is this all gonna end? When is it gonna get better?
Yeah. That is all very, very sort of fear-based type questions. But yeah. Yeah. We were talking about analytical thinking too, like getting stuck in your head, you know. And one of the things that I really want everyone to understand is, when you try to think your way through everything, you actually tend to make it worse. And again, the control issues come up over the last 3 weeks, and so has this point. Sky on TikTok saying breaking patterns that hurt sometimes due to being used to doing them all the time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So here's the thing with trying to outthink. Andy's really famous for this, so I'm going to take him off the big screen so he doesn't feel a ton of pressure. Um, a lot of you, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying, for you overthinkers, you super analytical, really intelligent people, good on you. But understand that your analytical mind is not going to get you out of a loop, right? Because the programs, patterns, habits that you're trying to break aren't stored in your thinking mind. They're stored under it. They're stored in the subconscious. Sometimes they're stored in the body. Analytical thinking can be a tool for your conscious mind. For those of you who are spiritual, you know what I'm talking about. But any kind of survival belief or program that lives in the unconscious and the subconscious. And you can't think your way into a place in your brain that thinking actually closes the door to. You don't have access to that. That's why a lot of smart people stay stuck for as long as they do. So like those of you who feel like, I've been on this for so long and I've thought about it and thought about it, I can't figure out a way, because you're trying to think your way out of it. But you're smart, right? It isn't because you're not intelligent enough. It's just intelligence is being applied at the wrong level and to the wrong layer. So more analysis, it just produces more analysis. It doesn't produce resolution to what's going on. Your mind, our minds are magnificent, right? But it's not the whole picture and it's not the whole system. And it was never designed to carry what you ask it to carry every single day and what you ask it to try and navigate every single day. So let me check in with my overthinking friend. Does that make sense?
The analysis does create paralysis. You are correct. And one of the major things that you have taught me over the last 3 years is invariably that to trust my heart, to trust my gut, and not overthink things. It's held to be true when I stop thinking and trust myself. And that's one of the other things that I've had to have to practice every single day, because I am a chronic, I'm a malignant overthinker. And I think if I think of all the possible answers, I will come upon the answer. But there isn't the answer. There are, it is what it is. And
Don't call my Virgo butt out like that. Honestly, I'm nowhere near as bad as I used to be. The work I've been doing, I see a true difference in how I let things flow rather than dwell. Yeah, look, I'm not calling anybody out. If it hits, it hits because you're needing to hear that message.
yeah,
You are needing to get this reminder and snap out of it. The answers that we are all seeking right now will not be found in our analytical minds. The conscious mind, your higher mind, when it can speak to what's conscious, that's where the power lies. But you can't reach your higher mind from analytics, the analytical logical brain. It comes from the creative side of your brain where your intuition resides, and also outside of what you know. Otherwise, it's just all already circling on regurgitated data. Right? We complain about AI a lot, like large language models, because you'll put something in and it'll just loop. It's basing its answers on the data it's been trained on. But what if it hasn't been trained on that data? And here's the reality: most of the answers that you're looking for, you haven't, your brain hasn't, and your system has not been trained on, because you haven't lived that answer yet.
yeah. I've even got a theory about AI in general based upon the conversations that you and I have had about, patriarchy and matriarchy. I think AI would probably work far better if the people that were creating it were women as opposed to men. Just about the way it's set up and the way it's coded and the
I
way
got
it's
that.
laid out, it comes down
Well,
to,
AI was like everything else on this planet at this time, in the patriarchy, and from the model that is an extractive, exploitive model. That is the model we have been living in for hundreds of years. And if you don't believe me, go do your own research. It's showing in our politics, it's showing in the wars, our financial system, our medical system, and now AI, right? For that to shift as a whole, and this is what April's all about, from a astrological perspective, energy perspective, and what we're really being asked to shift into. Stop the extractive model. Stop it. It does not work. It doesn't serve but a tiny few at the very top of a very large pyramid. And everything in the downstream from that suffers and dies ultimately. And we are seeing that on the planet. I'm telling you, Mother Nature's not messing around. She's
No.
like, oh, you think you can ignore all of the messages, all of the warnings, all of the signs? Watch me now. That's what's happening. So we're either going to pay attention to this stuff and not be afraid to embrace some different realities. And look, the exploitive extractive model, and I know you guys are not going to be happy to hear this, but this is I actually have a couple of articles, blogs that I've written that are queued up to go up on my blog, and I'm learning how to post properly for Google now. So like if you guys want those things, you're going to have to go follow my blog on my actual website, because it has to post there, and then I have to wait 3 weeks to a month before reposting that stuff on the other platforms. So make sure you're following me or you're on my newsletter on my website, but whatever. One of the articles I have queued up literally speaks to this whole thing of that exploitive model, the one we call the patriarchy. It is based on the energies of dominance. And what's the second one? Oh, this one's going to hurt for those of you who feel like you need to be in control. Control. Dominance and control are the hallmarks of the exploitive extractive model. Ugh, that one hurt, I bet. But that's what we were trained up to be in. What is the opposite of the extractive control model is demonstrating your faith in a benevolent universe, trusting your intuition, the wisdom of your body, and being in the moment of an experience, knowing you're fully resourced, and you are, to handle whatever is coming your way, and that everything's always working out in the end for the highest good, even if you don't understand what that is. I'm just going to put a period on that one.
Yeah. Exclamation point. But it begins, you're right, with us trusting ourselves and trusting the universe. And I think right now that's probably a pretty good start, because there's not a whole lot of trust going on anywhere these days.
Which means, and this is the message everybody seems to be missing. We don't trust the media, we don't trust our government, we don't trust the banks, we don't trust our bosses. Okay, great. Maybe that's because you're outsourcing your trust to the wrong places, and everything about that is trying to get you to turn back inward and ask and answer the simple question: do you trust yourself? Do you trust the creator that gave you breath and life and beat your dang heart when you're not even working at it? Do you? Because when you have outsourced all of that, you start to feel very lost and very helpless and very hopeless. And then you do whatever you can to try and be in control, whether that means people please, overgive, overwork, overanalyze, overachieve, whatever it is. That's what we do.
Yeah. Or we end up stuck and frozen because you're right, we're not trained, or we've lost the skills that we should have innately always been using.
We
And
get
that's,
frozen when we're asked to flow into what's being called for right now and not control it. And we're so used to just having, like, this is how it's done. Do this, do that, do this, do that. Like, that's why we get frozen, you know? When it's out of the norm for us, we freeze. It's
yeah.
a, fight, flight, freeze. Fun. Which one is it?
So we know analytical overthinking method has not worked. It's gotten it's gotten us to this point. So flipping the script.
Well, there's something that I've been really reminded of the last couple of weeks, and I shared this with my groups last week. Um, we spend a lot of time, whether it's in therapy or in certain coaching programs or the things that you guys study and you read, we spend a lot of time focusing on what's wrong, what our weaknesses are, right? We don't and literally, like, this was a topic in both of my hidden wisdom and my charm life last week. um and I'm probably going to say some things that y'all haven't heard me say much, but I want to explain this in a way where it actually makes sense for you guys, because I feel pretty strongly about this. A lot of the way that the world has operated has been based on the teachings of and school of Freud, right? Whether it's dream interpretation or psychology, um, Freud believed that your past determines who you are. That trauma, childhood experience, what happened to you, right? That determines who you are. His model is fundamentally about excavating what went wrong and understand it. I'm not saying that there's a problem with that. That is part of the work that we have to do. But hear what I said, that's part of the work. The therapeutic relationship in the Freudian tradition is it's long, but it's very analytical and very backward looking and very negative oriented, right? You've got to understand your wound thoroughly. And then that understanding is the work. That's part of the work, right? So Adler, however, who came up at the same time as Freud, he was a school of thought that could have been the leader, but it did not align to the control grid. Um, he broke on a fundamental point with Freud. He said the past doesn't determine who you are. What determines who you are is actually the meaning that you give the things that have happened to you, right? Or the meaning you give that goal or achievement you're moving towards. His model is more forward facing, right? His model, Adler's model, is more about like purpose, direction, what you're choosing to build. That's the foundation that a lot of like modern coaching sits on, including some of the high performance work I do. But in isolation of what built your beliefs and what programs are running, it leaves that whole thing out. And so on its own, that's incomplete too. You guys get that? Because you've got programs running underneath your anxiety. You've got beliefs that determine your habits, your actions, your inactions, your reactions. And they will keep activating until you actually address it at the root. That's part of the integrative work that I actually picture or work from, because it doesn't hold the full picture. Neither Freud nor Adler on their own is the full picture. Freud, without looking at forward movement, keeps people living inside their wound. And then Adler, without what's the root cause, keeps people building on top of a really weak foundation. And what actually works is coming from both sides and not only focusing on, okay, what caused this, but where am I heading and what do I need to shift towards? I like what Adler said and what he taught about um, really understanding that a lot of what causes our suffering is the meaning that we gave the things that have happened or the meaning that we give that thing we're trying to achieve. So let's ask Andy what he thinks about that. And I'm curious from
I
you guys. Put your
I
put your
lean, you know,
thing in the comments.
I lean toward Adler, just because the very first thing that popped into my mind in reference to Freud and Adler and the whole idea of the meaning you give to things is Viktor Frankl and how he was able to get through what he got through. That if he was plugged into the Freudian way of thinking, he would have never
You
survived.
experience both with the work you do with me. We don't only focus on you know the forward movement. We actually have
Right.
stopped and gone backwards, but I
But
don't
that
keep you there.
I will tip my hat to you, which I always enjoy doing because you are integrative and collaborative, and you're able to pick the parts that work from all kinds of disciplines and bring them together and synthesize them so they work for whoever you're working with. Because I was just going to make the point, if you only have one school of thought, you're right. I don't think any school of thought is totally perfect. You have to be able to cherry pick, which is what I like to do. And I always tell you when I read stuff, I keep the stuff I like, I ignore the stuff I don't agree with, and then I move on. And I think that's the way most of life is, right? You can't be only one way. But I'm an overthinker, so maybe I'm overthinking that too. But I have a tendency to I have a tendency to lean toward the Adler scale because I think the meaning you attach to stuff
A
because
lot
you can
of a lot of high performance, and I mean, not to knock the high performance world. I'm in the high performance world. I'm a high performance coach. However, the one thing that I would say, you start to lean only towards motivation and aspiration and ambition and leave out the foundation that makes up the building blocks of your life if you do not look at, why do I believe what I believe? Why do I react the way that I react? Why do I get triggered the way that I get triggered? If you don't understand those things and then have the power then to choose from an adult mind, not a child's mind, because those were developed in childhood. If you don't know that stuff, you're again building on Adler's system, forward momentum, forward movement, blah, 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 without looking at where you already have, you're just carrying that baggage with you. And at some point, it's going to get shut down. You're building on quicksand. That is what I've found throughout the course of my career. And yeah.
Oh, I lost us for a second there. We're back. But that's why I talk about the importance of how you integrate all of that stuff so it makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's there. And as you often tell us when we're going through the process and the exercises, there's no right way. There's no, there's the one path. There's no one path. Everyone's got a different journey. And
I was just
the
explaining that to, I have a bunch of biomagnetism practitioners. I did a little talk, impromptu talked in a meeting the other night, and they're like, "Come back and teach us." I'm like, "I don't have time." But you know, they asked me things like, "What's your protocol for?" One of them asked me, "What's your protocol? Your standard protocol for fibromyalgia?" I was like, okay, I know you guys don't know this about me. So let me just explain it like this, because the way I handle health is the way that I handle every one of my private clients and anyone that's in any one of my groups. I don't have what is called a standard protocol. Y'all are individual. You come with individual histories, stories, upbringing, experience, dreams, soul purposes, and all kinds of things. If like, that is one of my biggest bitches about the healthcare system, the typical therapeutic model for counseling is we follow this standard protocol. This is how we go. No, I look at everything and lay it out and go, all right, what needs to be addressed first? What's the priority? I don't have a standard. And what can the person or their body actually handle. If I had a standard, and I explained it to them, because they're like, can you just give us your standard for this? And I was like, I don't do standard protocols. I don't do templated work. I have structure. I have my high performance structure. That's one of the frameworks I operate under. I've got my charm life structure. That's another, and that's my work. Another framework I operate under. But to me, those are the tools I use to get the results with you that you're actually looking for. I have what's called the Gold Factor Healing Protocol, which is a 7-layer protocol for helping people with their physical health. What step we use at which point is not, oh my God, it's on the list. We have no. What is your body needing right now to get to these other layers? There's no one protocol. And if someone tells you, well, this is how we do it and these are the steps, then leave. Run for the hills. Structure is good. It's good to have the experience and the frameworks, but to me, those are the tools we use. That does not make up or account for everyone that has a different need. And I think that's probably why I get better results than most coaches on the personal development side of my work, and why on the health side of my work I get the results, because everyone, I don't look at you like, oh, okay, well, here's the condition and this is the way it should be presenting. Mm-mm. There is no one way. It's layered.
And that is why the the X factor in all of this, and you and I have had this conversation previously, so you know what I'm going to say. The X factor in all of this is you. You can give somebody else. You've got a template, you're right, for Charm Life and Hidden Wisdom. You can hand that to somebody else, and their execution is not going to be the way you do it. So their outcome is going to be totally different than what you get. And this is something I hold to be true philosophically in my business. And I always tell people I have no secrets when they ask me about how I do what I do and how I train people. I said, because it comes down to execution. Everybody can have the same playbook, but it comes down to the person and how they execute what they do. You're totally unique in the way you do it. You're very passionate about what you do, and you treat each individual as that, an individual. They're not a number, they're not a patient, they're an individual, and that's the way you treat them. That's why you get better results, and more importantly, that's why they get better results almost instantaneously because of the way you treat them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's
and I
that's
can,
the differentiation. For those of you who are listening, like literally that is the differentiation. And I'm not saying that I'm everybody's answer, because I can be I can be shocking to people who like hand holding and don't like directness. I'm direct and straight shooter like nobody's business. But in the world that we're in right now, I think that we need more, take the most direct path to get to where you need to go, because time is running out.
I honestly think,
And I don't mean
Bernadette,
running out as in the world's going to end. I mean
no,
running out for you to be able to be in your strength and in the position to be a leader and rise up regardless of what's happening in the world right now. And there's a lot happening. We need
I,
more
I
leaders.
I honestly think that you are the answer for most people. The question becomes, and you and I have had this conversation once again, if I'm ready or whoever it is ready to hear the answer or to hear what you
Well,
have
yeah,
to
because
tell
I'm
them.
not. I mean, yes, on the health side, I there's things like biomagnetism therapy, Rife therapy that I actually do with clients to help them get better on that side of it. That is a big part of it is up to me on the practitioner side. But the whole other side is, are you going to listen to what I've told you? Are you going to eat properly? Are you going to take the supplements that I recommend? And are you going to be part of your healing process? On the personal transformation side of things, it's no different. Like, I give you the knowledge and the coaching and the path forward, but it's not like people haven't come to work with me that think they know better, that want to argue and be in resistance. And it's like, you're not arguing with me. You're fighting for your own damn limitations and fighting to be right. And hands down, all day, every day, you get to be right. But what is being right costing you is always my question, because you can be right or you can be better.
Yeah. And and I often say it myself, it's easy to cheat yourself when it's just you. I go through that all the time with myself. I have conversations about, my discipline and the new plan that I'm on and how to stay on it, because I'm only cheating myself if I
Right.
don't follow through with my stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. So yeah. I mean, is this conversation helping you guys tonight? I'm hoping that it is. And that you're learning some things, you're being reminded of some things. Let us know in the comments, because it's really important to me that this is of value, that you're learning something, right? Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Because there's one more thing I think we were going to talk about tonight, or I wanted to touch on tonight too.
Well, I think well, you sort of tangentially touched on the idea when as the idea of us outsourcing
Mm,
the way we look at the world.
yeah. What
And
becomes possible when we stop doing that?
yeah,
Yeah.
and
I sort of walk around it a little bit, but look, you guys, the one thing that is absolutely needed and possible once you do stop outsourcing your attention, outsourcing your authority to the news, to other people's opinions, to just the external noise, your discernment returns. Not as a skill that you develop, but as actual capacity that was already there and is just getting buried under the noise. Like, you begin to remember or know for the first time what is yours and what isn't, what fears belong to you, and which ones you absorbed through social media or the headlines on the 11 o'clock news. Right. So then your decisions get cleaner, not because you have so much more information, but literally because you're no longer making decisions from a reactive triggered state, and then your relationships change, right? You stop needing the people around you to help regulate you and your reality. And then whatever comes on the news, that fear loses its grip. And it isn't because you stop caring, because look, I care deeply about what's happening in the world, but I will not let it knock me off of my foundation or affect the decisions I'm making, to the point where we made some adjustments to my granddaughter's ABT summer intensive, and it's going to take more energy and effort, but all the way around, it was a suggestion that I made a few weeks ago, and my daughter said, no, no, it's fine, let's fly. And then the plane crash happened the other night. My daughter's like, Mom, would it be okay if we drove? Could you drive twice in that 5 week period? And I'm like, I knew that was coming. Sky and I are chatting on the sidelines while listening, but she doesn't know how to ask, so I'll do it for her. What? Go ahead, ask away. So, yeah, it's funny. Your intuition can speak to you when you're not locked down, when you're not in reaction mode, when you're not triggered.
but
So,
you do have to make room for it, and I've learned that over the last 3 years with your help, is that you've got to make room for it, and you've got to turn up the volume and start listening to it, as opposed to turning it down, which we're taught to do by society and societal norms.
yeah, let me pull this comment up. Um, how she's talking about how she has the drive to get up, go to work, bus, but come home, but the drive stops there. How can she bring that same drive to something else, like losing weight? That's a good question. And have a lot of people that want to do that very thing, lose weight. So a big part of that, I'll tell you, has to do with getting your what you value prioritized properly. So what this little list tells me, um, She prioritizes being a provider and going to work, and busting her ass and being a good employee. That is a priority. Her health, her well-being, and her weight is a secondary, or it's probably towards the bottom of the list, so there's no drive. You can't have drive if you have not prioritized the thing you say you want, right? I hope Andy's listening to this too.
What did you say? I'm just
Dude,
joking. I'm just joking. I'm
I'll
listening.
smack you upside the head. You can't. There's no way that, like, and in some of the coaching sessions I did for some of our high performance people last week, we were talking about this. In one of the sessions I coached someone on, I was like, literally, you haven't prioritized. You have, like, you aren't on the list of priorities. I had this conversation with one of the executives I have in my recalibrate intensives as well. And that was something else that we've been working on daily, is like, you've prioritized achievements, getting your job done, and all these other things. Where do you come in on that list for self-care and what's important to you and what matters to your health and your stability? Oh, well, it's more important that other people are happy. Is it though? I learned multiple times throughout my life, but especially during my cancer journey, all those other things quickly go away when your life is no longer operating in a way that supports actual living. And I'm just going to mic drop it there because Ashley said, boom. That's what I've been saying. Your
Yeah.
words are better.
And the example that popped into my head immediately when you first started working with me, and the first thing that you were working on was uh, getting more rest, getting more sleep.
God, how
And
long did that one take?
it took about a month before I finally, and you had to backdoor me. I admit it. It took you a while to get me to the point where I said, okay. But the point was, you said you don't have to do everything all at once. Just do
Right.
one thing, one small thing. But it was a big thing to get more sleep because that gave me more energy. It proved your point how important it was for me to recuperate from the previous day. But it was just one thing. Start with just one simple thing that can make a difference, and then you can layer stuff on.
It's
So
funny. You're covering all the topics I just wrote about and have scheduled up to go on the blog, right? Um, how we
you're a good
weren't taught.
teacher. See, I'm
We,
remembering
we,
all
we
that.
weren't taught to pause.
Yeah.
Literally, we were not taught to pause. Um, and I was sharing again. I did so much coaching last week. You guys, like, you have no idea how I was so drained at the end of that recertification training because I coached my ass off in there with high level people. I mean, high level people. Some of the people that are in that high performance world would blow your minds, but they're no different than anybody else. And one of the things I shared with this one very high performer, very well established, successful woman was this concept that I learned and I talked about on live stream when I was going through it, called Wu Wei. You guys know what that means? It's Chinese. I think it's Chinese or Jap. No, it's Confucianism, so Chinese. Um, Wu Wei translated means sacred pause. Now, Asians have a term for it. Isn't that funny? Americans don't even know what that means. Because when I said it, she's like, wait, say that again? I was like, sacred pause. Where did I come up with that word? When I was going through cancer, I was looking up, how do the Asians handle it when someone gets cancer? And the difference between the US and Western society versus Asian culture, when someone in Japan or China, you know, gets sick and they have cancer, their sole purpose during their treatment is not to be responsible for anything. Family comes, community comes, like, everybody comes to do the housework, the bill. Everyone else takes the burden from the day to day off that person. Their sole job is to rest, to pause, to recover, to get well. We don't have that here. They do that when a woman has a baby as well, because it's seen as a time needed for the mom and the baby to create a bond. Wu Wei, that sacred pause, is an ancient practice that went away when the patriarchy was born. And I get it, like Pat saying it's hard to do with the prioritizing of self. Yeah, I get it. But here's the deal: when you take that sacred pause, you are honoring the creator who gave you life, the soul that came into form in this lifetime, and making it a priority to make it possible for that life to continue. When you force, you push, you try to think your way through it and force your way out, you're working against that. So all of you need to learn that statement and
Uh,
learn.
It's funny that you should mention it because when you were describing it, it took me back to when my grandfather, my mom's dad, my grandpa Silva, got cancer, and my mom and my aunties dropped everything because my my mom is half Chinese. They literally dropped everything and took care of my grandfather and my grandmother, and they didn't have to worry about anything. And I just sort of thought that's the way things get done, but it's not. As I got older, realizing that's not the way it gets done. But they did it. They took care of my
And we've
grandfather
moved
and my
so far
grandmother.
away from that model to where, I mean, look at where we put our elderly. My dad and I were just having a conversation on the porch yesterday. We were sitting on the patio and we were talking. My uncle, Alan, his brother is in hospice, and my other cousin Gary called from Oahu and told my dad, "Hey, I know you guys are planning a trip, but you might want to come sooner because Alan's on his, like, I don't think he's going to last much longer." My dad goes, first of all, this is still like days after the major flooding on Oahu. That's number one. Number two, look at what's happening at the airports with ICE. My dad's like, I don't think Bernadette can get away from work right now. She's got a full load. And he's like, and I don't know that I want to be involved in air travel this month. He said, and I don't know what I would do even if I was there, if he would even recognize, because he's having a hard time just communicating. Um, but he and I started to talk about how when someone goes into hospice, it's literally that's the door out. And it's not a caring door, right? My dad said to me, I'm so lucky and so grateful that I don't have to worry that you're going to put me in hospice unless it's because I need to be on machines. And I went, yeah, well, that's the way it should be, though, Dad.
Yep.
That is the way it should be. And we've lost that. I have so many people when they ask me, like, how many people live in your house? Like, how big's your house? Andy's been to my home. Ashley's been to my home. Um, it's not a super huge house. It's a big house. But we have, or I have mastered setting up the energy and the flow of the way things work. You can't tell how many people live in my house. It's not a noisy house. You don't even know who's home and who's not, do you, Andy? Because you've stayed with us
No,
in my
no,
room, no less.
yeah, but since I am getting better about reading things, you can feel the energy that's there. And and I know the difference because you talk about hospice care, and when Maylee had her stroke, and we spent, and I say we because I spent 8 days with her in hospice care before she passed. And the what I took away from that in reference to what you're saying about what we do culturally these days, the nurses that were there when I left all came and gave me a hug saying that, what a great partner I was. And I thought to myself, this is what you're supposed to do. And they whispered to me, this is not the way it normally happens.
Mm-mm.
And I just said, "Yeah, oh, that's tragic." And she said, "No, people come here and they put them in the room and they just pass. And that's tragic. No one should go
The
that
only way
way."
my dad's going into hospice is if he is a threat to himself or one of us. That is the only way. And he knows this. Like, the only way that you will end up in hospice is either you're a threat to yourself or you're a threat to someone else in the house. And if you need to be hooked up to machines that we have no access to, that's the only way. Otherwise, feel free to stay home and be as controlling as you need to be, because he likes to control shit. My
That
dad,
so,
my dad likes to control shit.
I grew up in a house with 4 brothers and sisters and my mom and dad and my grandparents for a while, so I know about large homes and extended families, and I love that stuff, and I love the energy, and that's what your house is like. That's why I love it. It's great
Ashley's
energy.
saying shifting your priority from work to health. How do you not move into slacking in the job? Because you now interesting. So here's whoever this is for, Ashley, whether it's you or Sky. I'm going to say this with all honesty because I don't know how to do it any other way. Um, that is very black and white, either or thinking. That is like all or nothing. Do you get that? Because literally in that thinking, like, how can I prioritize my health and still not slack on the job? Why would you slack on the job? You'll do a better job with less energy if your health is actually optimized. I have to say this to my high performance people all the flipping time. You cannot expect that your brain, your performance, your leadership, your service level is at its peak if your health is shit. There's no, it doesn't logically, biologically make sense. It just doesn't, right? Does not. So, and she's asking me to, oh, because she can only write so much on TikTok. No, I get it. So think about that, y'all. Think about that. You can prioritize your health. This isn't, and again, this is the dominance control model speaking, the programming that we've all been brought up under, that's speaking. When we say things like, I can either, prioritize work or prioritize my health, but one's going to suffer, neither should suffer. Neither should suffer. Your health always, mental health, emotional health, physical health, always has to come first. Because what in the hell is the point of good work performance or just showing up on the job if you don't have those other things? Work is, hear me, people. I'm going to go like full blown on my soapbox. We work to live. We should not make work our lives. And it has become the other way. A lot of people live to work. Why? That is not being alive. Now, if you have my job, it's much easier to go there. But even my job, where I get to save lives physically, literally, I don't work to live. I do not. My work needs to, and I'm getting better about putting myself first on this one, because people always want shit for free from me. They don't understand the hundreds of thousands of hours and dollars. And I don't mean that lightly. From the amount of books I've read, from the amount of courses I've taken, from the amount of training and the heartache and years. And they want me to give it away for free. And I used to feel, as a little empath, like I had to hold all the weight of the world on my shoulders because I was so blessed and gifted to understand things at such a high level. But what people, unless you've read my book, don't understand is the price I had to pay personally throughout the last 59 years. So I'm over this whole lie, give it away for free, give it away for free, just be nice, give it away for free. Like, F that. I work because it's my, like, what I do for work is my purpose. I'm blessed that I get to do this, but I made the choice to leave corporate and a cushy damn job and insurance and a schedule of 8 to 5. I left my cushy job where I got weekends off. And now I have to do 5 to 6 people's jobs every single day to run a business. And people still want shit for free, even though I have to pay to do things like live streams. How much did I pay? Almost $400 for the streaming software for the year?
Yep.
Just for the streaming software, not my website, which is astronomically high to host my courses, my programs, my website. Then there's the whole other, like, nobody understands unless you're in it, the cost of running a flipping business. Why then did I feel so compelled for so long to give it all away and feel guilty about charging what I'm worth?
I'm glad you finally got there. But you're making a good point because right here, right now, they are watching you for free. You are paying for that.
I am.
You are giving them the opportunity so that they can watch you for free and get this information.
But
They,
I look at this too, like live streams and stuff. I look at this as, and always have, and even my, like, my health side of my business, I don't charge the premium rates that I can get. Right? I know what I'm worth on the health side of it. I know what other people are charging. I don't charge nearly what I probably should charge or could charge because, like live streams, like being here with you guys, and that part of my business, to me, those are the community service aspects of my business. Hidden wisdom, it's one of the community aspects, making it accessible for people. However, there's a whole other side of the changes that I know that I make in people's lives that actually do make a big, huge difference in their lives. That's where I make up for it. And even there, I'm not discounting anymore. I've upped my rates and they're still not as high as they should be. I've had people tell me I should be charging 10, no joke, 10 times what I charge. And I'm like, oh, yeah, but. And it's never, yeah, but I'm not qualified or I don't get the results that people. It's, yeah, but then people couldn't work with me. It's always about everybody else. So y'all that are sitting in the comments right now that are sitting there going, yeah, but I care about, so do I. So do I. Up to the point of the day before I ended up in the emergency room with stage 4 lymphoma and a tumor the size of a freaking full grown fetus, I was doing daily sessions for somebody who couldn't afford my services and put her health ahead of mine. That wasn't her fault. That was my doing. And I never blame her for that. That was my doing. That was my, I'm the one everyone comes to. So there's that.
yeah.
So I don't want you guys to think I don't understand where you're coming from because you're like, I want to do a good job. I want to be 100%. No, I get it. Your health. Let my cancer journey be a freaking reminder to you. Your job, your work, and anything, it doesn't freaking matter if you don't have your health. It
And that's
needs to
another
be a number one priority.
and that's another important point you make with us as you're coaching us is that you're still working on yourself.
Always. I
That
have a
we're
lot
all
to learn.
so
I'm
yeah.
not perfect. Like, I never want anyone to think that I think I am. I'm not. We have so much to learn. We have so much to learn. There's so much we don't freaking know. Ashley, I love you, girlfriend. She's saying my growth is because of you. I'm so grateful for what I've learned and shifted because of you. 100%. I love you.
Thank you.
And you know what? That's why I do it, right? That's why I do it because it does make a huge difference. And I get, I am ever so grateful that I have work that I get to do that makes a huge difference. in the world, because I know it's not just making a difference for you. And I'm going to ask you this, Ashley, and even Andy, any of you guys who've worked with me for any length of time. The work that you do on yourself has shifted, I'm sure, for you. But what about the impact those changes you make has on your family, your kids, your coworkers, the people in your community that come across you?
Oh, yeah, they have easily detected the what my sisters describe as the lightness of being that has happened over the last, 3 years, and that so yeah, and
Like in
that
Charm Life, the greatest, I think, reward for me is when the people who come through Charm Life, their kids, because they're watching the videos and doing the work and they're showing up for coaching every week and they're used to, like absorbing it in the background. Some people's kids are playing games on their computers in the background while they're in our meetings. And the reality is this: the kids are picking up how to consciously create your lives. And they will talk back to their parents. That's not what Bernadette says. I'm like, yes, because they're learning.
yep. Kids are like sponges. You keep them around you and they'll pick up the good habits and the bad habits too if you're not careful. But the I said it last week in Hidden Wisdom in our session that in the last I've grown more in the last 3 years than I did in the previous 43, and that's due to your work. So I thank you for that. And it for me to get to that point where I looked at it that way and I'm honest with myself was another moment of clarity that came to me in being in that group. That's why Hidden Wisdom and Charm Life, I think, are so important. If someone's looking for a way, um, they should.
At least get into Hidden Wisdom, y'all.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to put out the invitation to you all right now, and you're probably going to see me post more about it as we go forward. Hidden Wisdom is a community for sure, but it's a personal development vault for you. You've got on-demand courses. It's $40 a month. The value is all in. The once a month coaching, like that is worth thousands of dollars a month. But the courses, the forecasts on the first, the fact that you do actually get to work with me. Someone else doesn't do that monthly coaching. I show up and do it. A lot of programs you sign up for that cost you thousands of dollars. It's like you have recorded information. You never really get to work with the person. No, we have recorded information. Those resources are there for you in your library. I show up every month. And I showed up every month, even through cancer. I didn't miss a month. Last night, Robin lost her earring in the back. She came out crying. I got up, went to her room, told her it was okay, and helped her look. Lily leaned over her bed and told her, I told you she wouldn't. What? What do you mean she wouldn't? Must have missed something on that one. So yeah. Anywho, I invite you guys to check out Hidden Wisdom. If you want the real meal deal, like the real work and change where your life changes rapidly and continuously, and you want all the tools and you want the weekly intensive, come join us in the Charm Life Mastery Immersion. Broke my back carrying everyone's weight. Cartomancy, right? Seriously. Like, sacred pause. Wu Wei. WUWEIE. 2 words. Wu Wei. Sacred pause. Time for a sacred pause. Time to tune out the world. And for a lot of you right now, that is the invitation and permission I think you need. And here's the question that I would ask you to answer for yourself. So here's a little exercise. You ready? If I set the intention and priority to take a sacred pause from everything that is no longer serving me or in my highest good at the level at which I'm participating in it, what needs to go? Or what percentage needs to go? Oh, gotcha, Ashley. Ask yourselves that question. We're all being asked right now as we gear up towards the 1st of April, which is next Wednesday. We are going to be asked what's important. I'll tell you guys just hint wise, get into hidden wisdom for the 1st of April because that forecast is going to be off the charts. I've been building it now for 2 weeks. Anywho, um, I'll give you a sneak peek. All of you are on this live and watching the replay. The shift of energy with the way the planets are set up is putting a spotlight on people who are in positions of power, leadership, who have abused their leadership roles. It is not supportive of people who are dictator like, who have used and abused their positions for self gain and harmful to other people. That's the good news. Does that mean that they're going to all fall in April? No, that's not what that means. There's a lot of unsteadiness, right, throughout the month. And for the next 2 months, the energy intensifies around war. That's all I'm going to say about that. For those of you who are just in the general public, for those of you in hidden wisdom, you know I'm going to go deep. So it's going to be an interesting month. Who just put that? Galaxy? Andy, you don't need to be giving gifts. So look forward to it. But we are already moving towards that energy of the universe pointing out to you, your higher self pointing out to you what needs to change. A lot of us are going to be more inner focused for the month of April, and it's already happening. It's that energy's already. I was telling Andy tonight, I almost canceled tonight. I'm like, Andy, I just do not feel like it. And I looked at the astrology for today, and the astrology backs it up in my chart and many other people's charts, in that it's like, yeah, I don't want to be performative. I don't want to put out a lot of energy. I just want to go cocoon and recover right now and hold on to what energy I can. And a lot of you are probably feeling that right now. Just understand that is the beginning of that energy that turns us more inward, because the karmic accounting is coming into play in the month of April. So it's like, how is that hitting your life? Truly, how's it going to hit your life? And all of us will be affected by this energy, not just leaders, because all of us have a position of leadership somewhere in our lives. So think of it in that terms. Ashley, I'm glad you didn't. I miss your face and wisdom. I'm glad I didn't too. It's more helpful when I can come on here and y'all are engaging, and it's not just me, talking head type thing. I like that Andy's here. It takes some of the pressure off as well, than me doing it alone. And then, from the standpoint of just us showing up and holding space for you guys, I think is an honor for both of us. And we talk about that a lot off air.
And it's fun. I really enjoy it. The community that Bernadette's created, I call it a sacred community. It's fun, the energy, I love it, and I always look forward to doing this. Even though today I agreed with Bernadette, the energy's been really bizarre, but once we get going, it feels good.
Well, the universe blesses what is meant to be blessed. And I always know once we get going, it'll be fine. But, the part of me that's like, oh, you got to put makeup on and make your hair presentable and turn the air conditioning on in the office and turn on the lighting and do all the things. And then you got to be present. When you've done that all day, you've been present. I mean, these shows make for a long night. It's 8:30 here. I've been going since this morning. Like, it's been a long damn day. It's been a long week, and it's Wednesday.
It's
But
only Wednesday. Yes, it's only
you
Wednesday.
say it's only Wednesday, and I'm like, oh my God. No, like, for real. It's been crazy. The last 2 weeks has gone, like, there's so much going on, and maybe it's because my client load is picking up rapidly, and I'm not used to the amount of work I've had to do, and I'm still recovering from 4 days of freaking recertification. I will hold accountability, set my alarms for coaching. I need to prioritize myself and hold myself accountable. And see, here's the thing about coaching, Ashley, that I'm going to invite you to change your language on. Coaching isn't about accountability. Coaching is about showing up for yourself to get the help you need and get the attention that you deserve. That's what coaching is. That month, the weekly coaching that we go through in Charm Life, that is your time where, and this is the thing about coaching in general, whether it's like the kind of coaching I do. I don't want to say everyone, I can't speak to most coaches, but you guys know this to be true for me. When I show up, you have my whole full freaking attention. And even though we're in a group, whoever's getting my help, you have my 100% attention. They're like fully on you and what it is you need help with. That is to have someone fully in your corner, there to help you navigate and figure something out and then give you the guidance to walk through it. That's for you. That is an accountability. That's you going, I deserve this. I'm going to give myself this time because it's going to make it easier and I don't have to travel it alone. Right?
Yep. And you and I, Bernadette, have had these conversations where when I don't put the work in, how mad I get at myself because I know I deserve it and that I need to schedule the time because I'm working on myself.
And
And
you
yeah,
froze for a minute there. What? When you don't put the work in what?
did I said when I don't put the work in, you and I have conversations and I get mad at myself because I know, first of all, I'm worth it and I'm working on myself and I'm cheating myself when I don't do the work.
Yeah. Charm life there is work involved. I mean, that's just reality. And I mean, there's a lot of people that come into Charm Life that don't do the actual video trainings with the exercises in full, and they are cheating themselves. That is the work. People ask me all the time, how did you become so strong and so unshakable? I did the work that I teach others and walk through with you guys in Charm Life. Like, that is the work I did and I continue to do, and it's now been 30 years of doing that same work repeatedly over, and every time I look back at the end of the year, I think, Lord have mercy. I have peeled so many layers. You would think that I'd be shiny. Apparently, that's not true. There's still more work to do.
But that is also the major selling point because whether it's Hidden Wisdom or Charm Life, you get Bernadette. And that's a totally unique experience. And I can attest to the fact that whether it's Hidden Wisdom or Charm Life, and as we sit in that sacred group, that the way she handles us is a sight to behold because everyone is treated uh, equally, but
Always.
differently because she holds space for us and she meets us where we are. She doesn't drag us to where she is. She meets us where we are so that we can become better people.
At the pace at which you guys want to take it, there's no right or wrong. I mean, I always say that there's no right or wrong. Ah, I love you too, Benjamin. There's no right or wrong in how quickly we arrive at the destination at which we say we want to arrive at. We each need to circle around things a few times. How long that is up to everybody individually. I mean, like sometimes we'll be hit with something smack dab in the face, and we just can't grasp it until it happens about 10 more times. You know, that happened in relationships for me until I finally realized what the freaking message has been all along. And yet, we like, I don't know what it is about us human beings. We like to be in the battle. We like the struggle. Like, somehow we think if we struggle, then we earned something. No, you don't have to struggle. In fact, when it becomes a struggle, that's when you got to question why you're struggling. Where's the resistance points? Like, lay down the sword, man. Take a break. Take a minute.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyhow. All right, you guys. I'm gonna let Mr. Andy go get some rest. I am definitely gonna get some rest. I don't know about you guys, but literally 2 nights in a row this week, I have not been able to sleep well. Partially my fault because I forgot to take my magnesium and my melatonin at night. But on top of that, like, my dad wasn't either. So I know energetically there's things happening at night. Um, I think that the conflict going on in the Middle East is keeping a lot of us up at night, and not for the reason that you might think. You might think it's just because, everyone here's on edge. No, they're in a different time zone than us. So, like, we're getting ready to wind freaking down. They are just ramping up for the day, but it does involve us. So it's like, of course, there's going to be more sort of scattered, frantic, frenetic energy. And we are all reacting to it right now. So if you need to sleep, literally, I wish everybody understood the benefits of taking magnesium glycinate, and you need to take it at night because it helps you rebuild muscle and it helps your nervous system. For any of you guys that struggle with a lot of muscle spasms, with anxiety, with depression, magnesium glycinate is a must have, and most of us are deficient in our diets. But if you have problems with insomnia, magnesium glycinate taken at night. I don't ever take it during the day. I take magnesium in a different form, threonate, during the day for my brain, but that's a different kind of magnesium. The energy spike at night recently, yeah, I'm telling you, it's because of what's going on in the Middle East. And for us, yeah, it's bedtime, but not for them. Like, they're like, hi, we're up, we're strategizing and planning different crazy things that are going to affect you at some level. So our little feelers are like, I can't sleep. So yeah, you need to try it. Do it. I take melatonin with it too. So I'll take 2 magnesium at night. Plus, last night I took 3 melatonin because 2 didn't do it the night before. And I did finally go to sleep. But like I said, I'm waking up at 3 a.m., having to go to the bathroom. Well, that is absolutely, I mean, I know a lot of times spiritually we want to say, oh, well, that's when, spirit wakes you up. No, from a body clock TCM perspective, traditional Chinese medicine perspective, that is a cortisol spike. And it just means that you're stressed. Your body's in some level of stress. And my body is still repairing. My body's still trying to get out of that. Is she going to poison us some more with things like radiation and chemotherapy? So I'm just trying to reset. Um, and yeah, give my body whatever it needs to understand it's nighttime, time to go to bed. So magnesium at night with melatonin. And I usually take it 2 hours before I'd like to be asleep because it takes that long for my body to just ramp down enough. So yeah, just a little tip. Give me a kids and you're out. Big hugs to you guys. The girls always ask when we'll go see you again every time they hear your voice. Ah, good night, you guys. We'll catch up sometime soon. We might be in Dallas in June overnight, so we might be able to hang out that night. We stay in Dallas, but we're trying to check our trip. We might actually go the other way through Houston. We just don't know yet. Like, we all need the time to sit down and plan this out. But all right, you guys have a good one, Andy, my friend. Always
Always a
grateful.
pleasure. I always have a great time. Thank you very much for the opportunity and for the conversation. Thanks to everyone else that made this worth the effort tonight. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. And we hope to see you guys in Hidden Wisdom.
Yeah.
So the link's in my bio. I'll see